Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. I think the Chiefs will be in the playoffs because it did look bleak for a minute, but they get the win in overtime. Kansas City 23, Indianapolis Colts 20. Chiefs get back over 500 to move to 6-5. Colts fall to 8-3. Colts got up early, almost first pass from scrimmage from Patrick Mahomes, nearly a pick six. Picked off by Latu. Beautiful play. Tips it up to himself for an interception inside the 5 for Kansas City. So the Colts score pretty early, get up 7-0. They were up 14-3. Kansas City's just kicking field goals. It's 14-9 at the half. And at one point gets to 20-9 Colts in the fourth quarter. And Kareem Hunt fumbles inside the 10. And if there was the lowest point for the Chiefs, I'm sure from a win probability standpoint and the whole deal, that was the point. But the Colts, this is the stat of the game for me here, Sam. 4 straight 3-and-outs, fourth quarter and overtime. They ran 12 plays. With a 20-9 lead, they went 3-and-out 4 straight times for a total of 18 yards.
Yeah, so that's
Spags
the other
defense
stat.
/ Colts offense. And that was pretty much it.
From the start of the fourth quarter onwards, so fourth quarter and overtime, the Chiefs had 236 yards of offense. The Colts had 18. The Chiefs had 13 first downs. The Colts had 0. And that's the game right there. The Colts had a lead. Now, you can look at the stats are weird, right? Because part of the Colts' success is they had Latu Island set them up 5 yards out from the goal line or whatever. So they didn't have to go far to get some of the points. So I don't think it's quite as simple as saying, well, Kansas City had all the yards, the Colts hardly had any, therefore the score was just a figment of your imagination. Like, actually, this was a sneaky example of the Chiefs dominating this game start to finish, and the score was simply a mirage. I don't think that was accurate, but it is true to say that once the fourth quarter happened, the Colts, who had the game in hand in terms of the score, simply stopped having any offensive success whatsoever, and they couldn't stop Kansas City, who then took over with, in particular, Rashee Rice. They kept dropping coverage on Rashee Rice over the middle. You look at his target map on NGS or whatever, it's just all crossing routes over the middle and screwing up the defense. But that's like an amazing output once the fourth quarter hit. Kansas City, perfect success, moved the ball constantly. Colts, literally nothing at all.
Yeah, and so it was, just from a Colts offensive perspective, I think they did a nice job early on, right? They dialed up their usuals, a couple nice runs from Jonathan Taylor. They had the weekly tight end screen to Tyler Warren, had a couple open downfield passes. Daniel Jones had a beautiful touchdown pass to Ogletree in the back of the end zone. I thought that was a really nice, well-thrown ball. So they did their usual, man. They mixed it up. And then it just felt like when they needed to run the clock, they're a run-first team. They tried to run with Jonathan Taylor, and Spags was just saying, no, you're not going to run the clock out. We're just going to crowd the line of scrimmage and make Daniel Jones beat us. And I'm just saying, man, I know as comfortable as Daniel Jones looked early in the season, where things were cooking and he's feeling good and he's making a few nice plays under pressure and there's a lot of confidence there. I'm telling you, these last couple weeks, he's getting a little bit more fidgety. He had the 6 fumbles in 2 weeks. Then they had the bye. And then in this game, he was okay early on. They had the short field, right? They had some plays going their way. But when the game was on the line, the Colts offense overall, right? They had a drop in there from Michael Pittman that was huge on a first down. But, man, Jones, in those 4 3-and-outs, you mentioned the play last night. He just fires it into double coverage. It would have been a disastrous interception, and the Chiefs dropped it when they were up 3 or whatever it was, trying to run the clock. And, man, I've got reservations about Daniel Jones and the Colts. It was almost like everything that we said that was nice about the Colts earlier in the year, I would list, well, the offensive line's pretty good, and the playmakers, and you spread it around, and Jones is running the offense. But at the end of the day, on third downs and in key situations, I just don't know that I trust him right now. And I think you saw that yesterday. And by the way, Chris Jones, I don't know where his sack totals are this year, but Goncalves, the right guard, had some serious issues with Jones and others rushing. Chris Jones, even in the Denver game, still had like 2 or 3 of those instant wins that just destroy plays. Because when you win from there in like 1.5 seconds, you can't do anything. And if you do create a play, it's a minor miracle. He had some of those yesterday as well. So it's not just Daniel Jones, but I'm talking about this offense as a whole. When they needed to run the clock out, Colts fell apart, and then Spags and this defense did a great job to give the Chiefs offense a chance to come back.
Yeah, the Chiefs defense looks championship caliber again. Chris Jones, I think, is all the way back. He had a relatively slow start to the season where he wasn't dominating at quite the same level as he's been at the last few years, where he's been basically the best defensive tackle in the game since Aaron Donald retired. He's that again right now. This wasn't concerning from a Colts point of view because it was the game plan. Like Spags and the Chiefs defense decided, okay, Jonathan Taylor right now is on his way to an offensive player of the year type of season. He's the driving force of this offense. He, in fact, is the MVP. We are going to shut him down come what may, and we're going to force Daniel Jones to make the plays that he needs to make in order to keep this thing moving and to stay ahead, and he couldn't. And, in fact, not only couldn't he, but he almost threw an interception that would have made the Chiefs' job of coming back even easier. And, if you look at his overall numbers, average at the target was way down. He was trying to get rid of the ball quickly to get rid of that pressure. Like, this was a game where the whole point of this sort of balance and having competent quarterback play is, well, okay, if you find a team that's just going to say, we're going to take away Jonathan Taylor and gam up the running lanes and force you to do something else, the quarterback needs to be able to make the plays off the back end of that. And Daniel Jones, playing at his best, didn't play at his best in this game and couldn't, certainly late in the game. And that's the type of thing that's going to happen in the playoffs. That's why the Chiefs win those playoff games. That's why a team like Indianapolis, who even now is still 8-3 and, in good position for a playoff run, like that's the difference between these championship caliber teams and teams that are maybe a little bit fool's gold is when everything is on the line. Mahomes and the Chiefs are able to make those plays, 4th and 3 conversion or whatever. Meanwhile, Indianapolis and Daniel Jones couldn't make those plays.
A couple of key plays in this. This is one of those games, too, where for 3 quarters, you're like, man, the Colts are going to pull this off. Like, it's not all doom and gloom for the Colts. You could definitely spin it and say the Colts at 8-2, but still kind of trying to prove themselves and really convince people that they are legit. And I don't care what the Chiefs' record is at 5-5. You're still going into Arrowhead against Mahomes and Andy Reid. And they had this game in hand, right? So you could definitely spin it that way before they blew it at the end. But they had things going their way. There was an early touchdown taken off the board by a face mask. The Chiefs were pulling out all their gadgety red zone stuff with the wing tee that they were running. They were having some success with it. The Colts defense made a bunch of big stops. But then you're going to come down to some game management decisions. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned the Kareem Hunt fumble. Like, it's 20-9, and Zaire Franklin forces that fumble. That was going to be the play.
At the end of like a big drive from Kansas City.
After a long drive, and it's like things are going the Colts' way, right? You made the stop. You've handled the counterpunch in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. But again, Spags' defense, and then it's like a quick 3-and-out, and the Chiefs have pretty good field position, and they come right back. But the Colts' defense made a bunch of stops. They were on the field for over 90 plays, including overtime. The Chiefs had a chance to put a game-winning touchdown on the board.
Yeah.
At the end of regulation, they went 15 plays for 90 yards, and they forced a field goal, the Colts defense, and they got them to overtime. So, look, the Colts defense, I thought, stepped up and did a really good job. Now, they gave up some big plays. You mentioned Rashee Rice. They found him over the middle a bunch on those crossing routes, but I thought the Colts defense hung in there.
Well, that's the element that is true of the people that were like, actually, this was the Chiefs had this game in hand, start to finish, and the score was really a figment of your imagination. Kansas City had 33 first downs in this game. That's insane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they just kept – like the Colts did a great job in the red zone, forcing, 4 field goals total, including the game winner.
Field goals, like all the weird things were happening. Like, basically, every time Kansas City got the ball, they had a long extended drive, which tended to end by a field goal or a turnover, and that was keeping the score where it was. But they had almost 500 yards of total offense. 33 first downs is insane. It's more than 3 times what the Colts had. Like, it was a game where it should have been closer than the score was.
5 field goals total, 4 in regulation. And then, to me, the decision of the game, and I don't feel strongly either way on this. I want to get your thoughts. It's 4th and 4. So the Colts are up 3, 4th and 4 on the Kansas City 45. So it's a 3-point game. And the Colts, they're in the middle of, they're in like the second or third, their third straight 3 and out, basically.
Yeah.
And it's 4th and 4. It was third down. They just picked up 6 to get to 4th and 4 over the middle of Michael Pittman. And they try to draw Kansas City off sides. They take the delay of game and they punt it from the 50. They put the Chiefs at the 10. And this is the one, look, it's not the same dominant, explosive Kansas City offense that it was a few years ago. That's just the fact.
But as we said, it has 33, first downs or
Yeah,
whatever
but they
it
were
was at
still,
that point.
They had been moving the ball.
Yeah.
All they need is a field goal to tie, touchdown to win it. Colts have all their timeouts, and they had just forced a 3 and out, by the way, as well. Like they had just given the Chiefs were just down 3, had an opportunity, and they went 3 and out and lost for -1 yards. And but that's the decision. And I just tweeted it out like, hey, let's see what happens here. This is one of those like in Mahomes. I don't want to say in Mahomes' peak, like he's over the hill here, but in like peak Mahomes world, you would say, okay, like 4th and 4, like you just go for it. Right? You never give him the opportunity. But he's still great, and that offense is still potentially great. And the Chiefs go 90 yards, and they run out the rest of regulation too, by the way, to kick the game-tying field goal and then go to overtime. But that's the decision, right? It's like it's a 3-point game, and there's a lot of these around the NFL. We'll talk about Jags Cardinals in a little while. There's so many of these decisions right now. When you're up 3, it is a very tricky situation, I think, in today's NFL. Because if they go for this 4th and 4, I still think you need to I think you want to put a touchdown on the board to go up 2 scores.
Right.
If you're the Colts. But even if you kick a field goal, I think I'm more inclined to make a team go for a touchdown now than the field goal because of how easy it is to kick long field goals. But then you just have, I don't know, you've got like one play to keep this drive alive, but if you don't get it, you're giving the Chiefs this easy field goal opportunity. But the other side of that is it's 4th and 4 on the Kansas City 45. Let's say you don't get it. And everybody's like, oh, you should have punted, right? The Chiefs are probably going to only spend maybe 2 minutes to get into field goal range and to kick it. Now maybe they score a touchdown, and you have to drive and score a touchdown against Spags' defense. But you're at least going to get the ball back. But the Chiefs did the double whammy, was they drove 15 plays for 90 yards, took the rest of the clock. You never even got the ball back.
Worst case scenario.
Right? So you had an opportunity to either keep the ball, keep Mahomes off the field, or at least get the ball back, or assure yourself to get the ball back. And they punted, and I think that's gonna haunt them a little bit.
These are all getting interesting because I feel like the math has to be changing based off these new K-ball rules. To rehash these for everybody. In this offseason, the NFL made what feels like an inconsequential move, but appears to have had fairly seismic effects on the league, where they gave kickers multiple days in advance the K-balls for a game so that they can basically wear them in and scuff them up and do what they need to do to soften them up, kind of the way that quarterbacks have had for years. They decided to basically extend the same courtesy to kickers. Because, normally, remember back before this year, you would always see the kicker gets hold of the ball, he's back to kick off, and you see the guy like kneeling on it, trying to like squish the thing, trying to get some of the rock hard brand newness out of the football. That's all pre-done now. And consequently, that appears to have had the effect of kicks are now possible from the moon. Like Cam Little's out here regularly taking a shot from 70. Like the distance that you can attempt a field goal from now is massively further than it used to be. We've already seen is it tie or new record totally? I forget. Have we got a new field goal record? It's new right now. 67?
68.
68.
Or was it 67?
Whatever. We've got a new field goal record. The limit to that is even further. We saw it in preseason. The limit is at least 70 and maybe beyond. This means that you don't need to move far at all at the end of a game to get into at least an attempt range. But that has all kinds of further ramifications, as you're talking about. Well, if it takes you 30 seconds to move the ball like 15 yards and have a shot, well, then you might get the ball back again. Like all the math is changing.
And then you've got a shot.
Yeah. So all of these calculations for Do you go, no go, end of the game? What does the model say? The old model, I think, is almost irrelevant now. It's a new model, but we don't have enough data for the new model to be sound. So we're in this complicated world that everyone hates, but is the only time where you actually steal any kind of advantage over anybody, which is there's some new state of truth in the NFL right now because of all this new, variables with field goals, but there's not enough math for it to be sound at the moment. So everyone is going to have these different competing models. What does the analytics say, as Troy and Joe would say? Well, it doesn't matter because they're all different now.
Now you got to factor in the just extra 6 or 7 yards in each field goal kicker.
But I don't know. So the range is absolutely increased, maybe like to a massive degree. But I don't know if the chances of making that kick are actually any better. So what does that do to your like? How much should you actually be inviting them to go and take your shot at a 70-yard field goal because we don't think you have any chance of making that kick, even though you can attempt it. Like there's this weird world now where it's all chaos at the end of the game because everyone I think is now working from completely different models that say, go, don't go, whatever. At least previously, Troy and Joe didn't understand it, but all the models said pretty much the same thing. Now I suspect you get a different answer to these questions team by team.
But I also think we've talked a lot about the idea of you're up 3. Do you want to go up 6 with a field goal, or do you want to just continue to go for it on 4th down? And make sure we don't forget that in the Jags-Cardinals game because that spurred a whole bunch of the decision-making there. But that's the one with the Colts where I wonder in this situation if you'd rather keep the ball. Who cares if you go up 6 because Butker's range is going to be 60-plus anyway. And you'd rather go. I wonder if you actually do want to let a team or try to drive for the touchdown versus the field goal now, just because the field goal's easier. Look at the Lions kicking that's what the Giants did in their game too. That was the decision. The Giants went for it, and everybody's like, "Why did they kick the field goal to go up 6?" Because historically, you don't want to go up 6. But the Lions kicked a 59-yard field goal at the end of regulation, like it was nothing, to go to overtime. And so, and you're also in the. We'll talk about in the Giants game, but like in that game, you're one play away from the win. Right. And most of the time, the data is going to say, choose the one play, especially if you're the underdog, right? Survive one play instead of, in the Giants case, survive a bunch of plays. And look, the Colts are still the underdog. So survive the one play. Like just make this 1 4th and 4, even though your offense isn't doing anything.
I mean, I do think that part is still true. With the adage of, like, if Mahomes is on the other side, I don't want to give him the football. If I can avoid giving him the football for 4th and 4, I want to take that opportunity, even though my offense has not been doing anything for the last 3 straight drives.
And it doesn't matter that he's failed against Denver or against Buffalo in those comeback attempts. Historically, it's like Mahomes and Brady in Montana. Like, those are the best guys.
And look what he's
in those
doing
situations.
in this game. He's already converted. Like, things are looking good for Mahomes in this game. I don't want to give him the football with a chance to win the game. The NGS had an interesting stat in this game. The Colts played man coverage on 40.8% of their coverage snaps against the Chiefs. Their second straight game calling man coverage on at least 40% of their coverage snaps. That obviously coincides with the acquisition of Sauce Gardner at the trade deadline and Charvarius Ward coming back from his concussion. So your top 2 corners essentially are back in the game, and the Colts have pivoted massively to more man coverage. The problem with that, as the Chiefs were able to uncover, is somewhere there's a corner covering that isn't Charvarius Ward and or Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
And if we can get Rashee Rice running across the middle against that guy, that's where we have joy.
Huge win for the Chiefs, who are now still the 10 seed in the AFC at 6 and 5, tied with the Steelers, who are out of the playoff picture, and the Texans, all at 6 and 5. But the Chiefs they play the Texans. They have 2 expected wins against the Titans and the Raiders. The playoff leverage for this game, as we said coming in, was about a 40% difference, which doesn't even capture it. Like 70% chance of making the playoffs with the win, 30% with the loss. And I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you're going to look back and say, it looked bleak with the Kareem Hunt fumble, but Spags' defense made a huge I called it a throwback win. Throwback Chiefs win last night. You've got Spags' defense making key stops. You have Mahomes making key plays on 3rd and 4th down to keep drives alive. In the 4th quarter magic to be able to win this game. So throwback Chiefs win in their first one-score win of the season.
The playoff picture in both conferences could be really exciting down the stretch. I mean, I think both conferences are, well, the AFC is 10 teams deep in terms of teams that are in the hunt, right? And obviously only 7 playoff spots. So we're going to have 3 decent teams, or 3 teams with impressive-looking records on the outside looking in. And then the NFC is maybe 9 teams deep, but you've also got the weird NFC South, maybe like Atlanta's at 4-7 and are not completely out of the running at all for that division because of the way the division is. So, I mean, the Lions are 7-4 and on the outside at the moment. Like, both playoff runs down the stretch are going to be really fun if these teams keep winning. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.